What's going on, everybody? We're back with a brand new video, and I came across this tweet or X post or whatever the hell they call it. You know what? I'm gonna still call it Twitter. I don't care. But at any rate, from none other than Jemele Hill. And for those of you who may not be that familiar with her, if you watch this channel, I don't see how you wouldn't be. But former ESPN personality that her and Michael Smith was on the Six, that flopped. She went over to, I forgot what they started calling it. Now it's called Anscape now, but I forgot the name before that. And then she's went on. I think her and Kari Champion have a podcast. It may be still around. But at any rate, here, I'm just gonna read the tweet. I just want to get into this because, as you know, the WNBA and women's basketball as a whole has been the hottest topic, arguably in sports right now. I am seeing, because I follow and talk to a lot of sports people, but the WNBA women's basketball has been on a lot of people's tongue for the past several weeks, which I think overall is a good thing. But as with always, the conversation when it comes to women's basketball, particularly the WNBA, is of course what they make. And as it's already been shown and proven over and over again, one of the reasons, well, no, let me not say one of the reason, is that the WNBA has been around since 1997, and not once have they been profitable. So it's hard to pay the players these big time salaries when the league is operating in the red every year. So, but I digress. So let me get to what Ms. Hill had to say. I'm already annoyed by this conversation because for years WNBA players have fought for more money. And when they were outspoken, so many of y'all told them to shut up or reminded them how they had no value. The NBA has had 50 plus years of investment, media coverage, etc. After 27 years, the WNBA will not be the current NBA, so stop comparing them. Further text. This salary is for 4 months of basketball, 40 games. The players also receive a free apartment and car. That doesn't make the salaries acceptable, but now you know why so many women's players play overseas to boost/supplement their income. Weaponizing this information against WNBA players is another form of, wait for it, misogyny. These women have been dreaming of playing professionally in front of American audiences their whole lives. Instead of clowning and reminding them of what they're not, buy the merchandise, go to the games, and watch the games on television. Very easy to criticize when most of y'all couldn't get paid to compete at anything. So that's what she had to say. So let's break this down point by point. So she says WNBA players have fought for more money. And while that may be true, again, it comes back to my point. They're putting the cart before the horse. They want to get the money that in terms of big salaries, but the work hasn't been done in order to build the game, to cultivate the fan base that would generate the revenue that would facilitate the league being able to pay a higher salary. Like, this is simple economics 101. And then the other issue is I'm gonna, let me stop. I'm gonna come back to that. Okay, so that's the first thing. And it does sometimes come off as complaining because even at 70 plus thousand a year, that's more than over half the country makes. So when you're saying that to a middle class populace that's not enough money, you're going to get people to side eye because, granted, yes, they do work very, very hard at their craft. We're not taking anything away from that. But at the end of the day, so does the electrician, the garbage man, the plumber. All of these, they work hard as well, and not all of them make that much money, and no one's throwing a sympathy party for them. Um, she said the NBA has had 50 plus years of investment, media coverage, etc. Okay, and let's kind of come to this because there's this whole thing. I think years ago, Basketball Examine. I don't know if he still makes videos, but he did a video on this where there was I don't know if she's still there, but this lady that was on ESPN called Katie Nolan, and she was trying to compare the NBA at 22 years, and at the time the WNBA had been around for like 22, 23 years. And comparing them to as if to say, see, they're on the same track, but it's not. And I would submit to you that the WNBA, at its inception, was in a better place than the NBA was in theirs. And you can, well, how can you say that? I'll show you. Because if you remember, for those of you who are old enough, when the association, the WNBA started back in '97. Where were they? They were on NBC, the same NBC as the NBA on NBC. So right from the back, from day one, their games were in front of a national audience, an audience that was already familiar with basketball, and even like I said, they even had some built-in star power with the Cynthia Coopers, the Teresa Witherspoons, the Tina Thompsons, the Michelle Timms, the Tisha Penicheiros. Yes, I watched back then. So. And if you and a lot of people don't know, the NBA, when they have national television, once they eventually got it, it was nothing like what the WNBA started with. And let's not forget, up until the 1980s, the NBA finals were on taped delay. No matter how bad the viewership has gotten with the WNBA, there's never been a point where their games have been on tape delay. And this is a league where the games were one time were on Lifetime and the Oxygen channel. Okay, and the finals games were still not on tape delay. The right now since they've been around, they've been around for the infancy of YouTube and social media, things that they don't really utilize as well as they should. So in those ways, in some of those areas, they've kind of had a better starting point, you can make the argument, than the NBA. And you want to say stop comparing them. When they bring up the money, and I'm speaking of the players, when they bring up the viewership, what are they comparing it to? They're not comparing it to the Euro League. They're not comparing it to overseas women's basketball or the NBL in Australia or La Liga in Spain. They're comparing it to the not to the WNBA, I'm getting them mixed up, to the NBA. So if you want to tell someone to stop comparing, you should take that to the players. Let's go to the salary is for 4 months. We know, I didn't actually know that they got an apartment in the car, so that's pretty good. Again, that doesn't make the salaries acceptable, but now you know why. We know why many women play basketball overseas. And again, you would think that would help them understand the difference between overseas and here is because over there, the reason why your DTs, your Brittany Griners, maybe not Brittany Griner anymore, but your Tarasis, your Agumakays, and all of them, they go overseas is because there's a market for it. So that's why people want to see that. There's more of a avid fan base for women's professional basketball. Maybe they should take some notes. So yes, they can command more of a salary across the pond than they can over here. Weaponizing this information against WNBA players is another form of misogyny. I'm not on camera, but when I read this, my mind's eye was rolling in the back of my head, and even sitting here reading it again, it is. Okay? Pointing out that a league that has never, ever once been profitable, yet the players are talking about salary and revenue sharing seems a bit ridiculous. And if you think it is misogynistic to say that, then you're an idiot. It's just pointing out the facts. It's hard to get, I think they're up to 50% with the new CBA. It's hard to ask for either larger contracts or a larger percentage of the revenue pie when there's no revenue to start with. Okay? That's not hating women. These are just pointing out the facts. And I come from the standpoint of pro player and pro athlete. But if the money is not there, if your league is not generating the profit, which is based on the lack of demand, then there's a fundamental, there's a problem there. Okay? And and here's another issue that I have, and the WNBA players themselves fall into this trap. Can you think of a product, or if you have a business and it's been around for 20 years and it never makes money, and the business owners and the stakeholders then say, well, if you don't like our widgets, there's something wrong with you. It's your fault that our company doesn't make money because you don't do it. And if you don't support our business, you are insert derogatory term here. So, and I see this all the time, that they blame hating women for people not watching the WNBA when over 70% of the fan base is men. So it's not men, it's women that don't support the WNBA. All the people, particularly as of late, who are running around beating the drum, they don't watch the games themselves. And again, when they do that, that's a point to try to shame people or to try to silence people for just saying the truth. Now, are there some idiots on the fringe that may say, "Oh, you don't need to be dribbling the basketball; you need to be in the kitchen"? Yes, but the average basketball fan, nah, I'm not gonna accept that, because that's simply not true. And then she said, women have been dreaming of playing professionally in front of American audiences their whole lives, and I have no doubt that they don't. And while you may want to achieve that dream, there's lots of people, unfortunately, that for a variety of reasons they have dreams that are unfulfilled, and nobody is entitled or required to help make your dream come true. If you want to make it happen, then you got to go out and try to make it happen yourself. But in no way is that on us. And I'm saying the sports viewing public to make your dream possible. So then let's keep going. Instead of clowning and reminding them what they're not, buy the merchandise, go to the games, and watch the games on television. And let me get to this, because this is a theme that I've seen as of late and the whole time, to where people are just saying, just watch the games, like just off GP. And here's my thing, because a lot of these people, they're saying you just need to go support, but they're not saying why. Do we need to watch because this is high quality basketball? Are the games competitive? Are they showing, and I'm going to steal from sports and fitness rants, are they showing toughness, grittiness, integrity for the game? Is that what's going on? Is this great basketball? Is that why we should watch? Because that's not what you're saying. You're just saying that the default needs to just be to support the WNBA. And I'm certainly not saying that the WNBA shouldn't be, but that support should be commensurate with the quality of the sport that's being played. And if it's not, then the people won't show up. Which is kind of to the point that Michael Porter Jr. was saying, was that there are highly talented, highly skilled ping pong players, but nobody's watching them. And so if the basketball is great, as we've seen in the case of the recent NCAA runs, then yes, people will watch. And I have no doubt that when the WNBA season starts, that there's going to be a significant bump in the viewership. I have no doubt about that. But I'm going to say this, and I don't think the schedule is out, but I'll be interested to see game 13, game 16 of what the viewership, the in-game attendance will look like. And why do you say that, Brett? I'll tell you, because by then, for lack of a better term, the new smell will somewhat have worn off, and then we'll be able to see who's really serious about supporting the WNBA, supporting women's basketball, or was it just, a temporary hype train to get on because, Angel and Caitlin and well, she's not in the league yet, and Cardoso and all these, they were hot right then. So when we get into that point, we're going to see. It'll be time for the rubber to meet the road, and then we'll see what's really up. So yeah, I think that if the game is what the people want to see, then they'll go and see it. But right now, you have to be honest, and this is the issue that they don't take into account. In its current form, the market is telling you they're not feeling it right now, and I'm speaking to the WNBA, and they got to figure something out. Now, I will say this in kind of carrying this point along. Right now, the WNBA they're in a great position. I know a lot of people want to talk, but they're in a tremendous position because right now you've got not only a windfall of attention brought on by what those young ladies did throughout the season and in the NCAA tournament the past few years, but you've also got a windfall of star power coming into the league because for so long you may have one or two recognizable names, but you've got a cadre of recognizable names that people know that are coming into the league at once, and the WNBA haven't been in that position, and hopefully they don't mess it up. And here's a little, I don't know if anyone from the league would ever see this, but if I am the commissioner of the WNBA right now, what I would do if it were me, all right, so Caitlin Clark is number one. She's all over the place. All over the place. If I'm either going to try to play a preseason game, I almost said aim. Hold up, we lost audio there for a minute. But what I was saying was, if I'm the commissioner of the WNBA, okay, we're going to play a game in Iowa. Well, it could be a regular season game if possible, but at the very minimum, a preseason game. We're going to play a preseason game in Baton Rouge, Columbia, South Carolina, on the Stanford campus if possible. Because here's the thing, and this comes back to my point earlier, and I'm going to wrap this all up, because obviously those players have a fan base, but so do the names on the front of the jersey as well. So you've got folks who will come out to see them, based on who they are, but also the school that they went to. And so you've got the opportunity to try to bring over some of the Iowa fans into the WNBA, some of those LSU fans into the WNBA, some of those South Carolina, who else? Stanford, UConn. You've got to bring them to get them into the game because, hey, such and such went to UConn. I'm going to watch. Such and such went to USC, LSU, or, I'm gonna check them out because they went to my school. I used to root for them. I'm now interested to see how they do in the professional ranks, and that's how you do it. And particularly women's basketball, from a collegiate standpoint, they're in a advantageous point even over the men's game, because those of us who are of a certain age are old enough to remember when you would associate a guy with a school. You know, Kerry Kittles at Villanova, Ray Allen, UConn, Kemba Walker, UConn. Much as I hate to say it, Christian Laettner, Duke, Grant Hill, Duke, Derek Coleman, Syracuse, Ronnie Cycli, Syracuse. And, I can go on because these guys stayed, James Worthy, Michael Jordan, North Carolina. They stayed in school, 2 to 4 years, so you got a chance to get familiar with them, to know them. So when they went into the league, you kind of want to see what they did from that standpoint. But since most of the time in college basketball, these guys are one and done, and for those blue chip guys, the NCAA has become a little more than a place to wipe your feet before you go to the NBA. And so you don't get that unless you are someone who really follows the high school basketball circuit and recruiting and things of that nature, which most of your rank and file basketball fans either don't have the time or the care to do so. So, you don't have that sort of connection with these guys that you once did. Now, women's basketball has that. And the WNBA would be wise to tap into that. Now, I haven't heard anyone else bring that point up, but they really need to do that. If they want, I would talk to the people at the NCAA, the people on the Division I Women's Committee, and kind of form a working relationship in order to do that, which would be beneficial for both parties. And finally, it's very easy to criticize when most of y'all don't get paid to compete at anything. And this goes back to what I was saying earlier. This whole, if you don't agree with me, I'm just going to use ad hominem attacks and lob pejoratives and so on and so forth, not understanding that, guess what? If you got in college, well, while you didn't get paid, you're used to competing. If you got a job, you know what you did to get that? You are competing. You competed. And now you're paid. Whether you're in business, if you're a salesman, you're getting paid to compete and defeat the competition. So that what she's saying is not even true. It's just a way to try to silence and shut up and shame people who may not disagree, but may not agree with you or have an alternate perspective on things. And I think it's really horrible, lazy, myopic of her to say that. So, but this is the same person in Jemele Hill who has a hard-on for jumping on men, particularly black men, and why so many of us have an issue with her. Because if you recall, when she was still at ESPN, she got in a little bit of hot water because of some comments that she made on Twitter about Donald Trump, where she referred to him as a white supremacist and so on and so forth. And so that caused a big stir, and she got suspended. And a lot of people didn't agree with the suspension, and ironically, it was a lot of brothers that came to her defense. And so when the suspension got lifted, and I want to say it may have been early, it's been a while, so I can't recall. So one of the first things she does when she gets on the internet, there's a website called Very Smart Brother. This internet rag, it is very anti-black man, anti-black family. It's a real web rag. But anyway, there was an article, and I forgot who wrote it. Doesn't matter. It was called that black men, I'm talking about straight black men, are the white people of black people. And so she reposted, and she was talking about, man, this is fire right here. And a lot of people was looking at her funny style like, wait a minute. The same brothers that was coming, to your defense when they was jumping on you, as soon as you get out of proverbial work jail, the first thing you do is use your platform to promote an article that tears the brothers down. And so that really soured her to a lot of black people and a lot of brothers. So understand this is who we're dealing with when we look at these types of comments. But this went a little bit long because I wanted to kind of get in and really dismantle what she was saying piece by piece. So this video did go a little long. But what do you think about Jemele Hill's comments and what she had to say? Let us know in the comment section, and we can have a discussion about it. But we'll be back with more videos, including, I'll go ahead and let the cat out of the bag. Going to be doing one talking about why it was not J.R. Smith's fault that the Cleveland Cavaliers lost Game 1 of the 2018 Finals. Going to be delving into that a little bit. So definitely stay tuned for that. And we'll be back with more videos very, very soon. As always, thank you for spending a little more than a few minutes with us on this occasion. We'll be back with more videos and news soon. Take care. And as always, tell the ones that you love them. Peace.